This is the consent calendar of May 2nd, and there's one item on the consent calendar, which is 4878 Vieja Drive. So the applicant, yeah, she's going to sit over there and yeah, you can go through the drawings. I already seen them online and they look pretty complete. Yeah, good job. Robert, do you have any comments at all on this project? Everything seems fine. Yeah. So you're good to go. That's nice and easy. Thank you. Okay. And that concludes the consent calendar. Yeah.
Can't talk. Can't talk.
All right, we will begin the May 2nd, 2025 SBAR hearing. And we'll begin with any public comment not pertaining to today's agenda.
Would anybody like to make a comment not on today's agenda? Please raise your hand in the chat or in the audience. Seeing none.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to the agenda status report.
We have no updates to the agenda.
All right. And reviewing the minutes from April 18th. Let me see if we have I don't think we have a quorum, so we can review them, but then we'll have to make a motion when Val gets here.
Very little to review. It was just the consent calendar items. Yeah.
Or were we all here? For some reason, I thought Robert was gone last time.
Okay.
Okay, then we can review. That's right, okay. And they were all approved with a few notes, right?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and moving on to SBAR members' informational briefings. Have anything? I need to leave by 11:15. Did you have anything? Okay, I think we'll be through by then. And then a staff update. Joe, do we have anything? No. If he is here, I want to ask him about that, how the rerouting works for the ministerial process. Okay, we will ask him later. All right, and we'll move on to the review of the consent agenda. Is there any
There was just one item which was on the 4878 Vieja Drive. It's a conversion of a existing residence into an attached garage, etc. It was fine, approved as submitted. I move a motion to do that.
I'll second it.
Shoot, we can't actually vote. I just realized as you were seconding it because Chair has to recuse. So we'll wait until Val,
Oh, to this one here?
because we need a quorum to finalize it, but Kier needs to recuse from it.
Okay,
So
all right.
we'll make a motion, sorry, when Val gets here. I'm sorry, I made you go through that whole thing. Okay. Going back to staff update. Joe, do you have any updates for us? No. Maybe his audio's messed up. I do want to make sure you can
Good
hear us.
morning,
though,
Madam
from-
Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, Joe.
Apologies. Somehow I forgot how the mute button turned off.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah. So no updates from staff, but I did. I thought I heard you ask about a question about rerouting plans for ministerial projects.
Yeah, we had a question come up on I guess the one that came up for Robert was on vacant parcels. Are new projects being rerouted around like that? Are they not going through DRB, and is that a separate application process? We still get some. And then is SB 8 officially enacted and those projects are not coming to us also now?
Okay, so I'll maybe restate the question just to make sure I'm tracking.
Okay.
So with regards to new projects on vacant lots, you're asking if those will still go to you? Is that the first question?
Yeah, if they historically would have, is there a new law that's requiring them to not come to us now?
There is no new law, but we basically, if there's multiple dwelling units on a project, then that project is protected by the Housing Accountability Act, and only objective criteria apply. So we won't be sending projects with multiple dwelling units to BARs. But single-family dwellings are still subject to design review by the Board of Architectural Review if it would otherwise be required to go. If it's just submitted as just a single-family dwelling.
Okay. If it includes an ADU or a guest house, does that make it a multi-unit? project then? Just,
If someone submits and they have both an SFD and an ADU on their project, then we would not require them to go through PAR. But that the ADU has to be included as part of their project.
okay. And that's the SB8 application process, or it's something else?
That is based on the Housing Accountability Act overall is the umbrella. There are a wide number of bills that make up what is the Housing Accountability Act.
Okay.
So SB 8, I don't know. I can't recall all the details from SB 8.
Okay.
That
was the
I think
up to 4
that
units, I
updated
think.
SB 330.
An
Okay.
updated SB 330. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Robert, did you have any other follow-up questions? Or is that what you were wondering? I know, it's a lot, yeah. How it'll be enacted in real time will be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's why our agendas are lighter. When did the Housing Accountability Act go into effect? It went into effect a while ago, but then they've been adding the bills, right?
So the Housing Accountability Act itself, it's been active for a very long time.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing today is just updates to that bill that's been around for probably decades. So it's just updates to the Housing Accountability Act in response to the housing crisis.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's evolving, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of having it be separate now, it's rerouting the whole project through a ministerial process. Right.
A battle at the design review.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll carry on with our steering agenda. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just one quick note. I'm only able to hear you so far. I haven't been able to hear anyone else on
I
the
think
mic.
they forgot
so
to
if
turn their
everyone
mics
could
on.
Sorry, I didn't hit the mic.
Okay, great.
We're all
Thank you so
having
much.
muting issues. All right, thank you. Okay, let's go back to item C1 and take a vote for that. So we had a first and a second, so all those in favor for item C1? You can think, calendar. Aye. And one recusal. Okay, all right, and we'll move on to item 1, the Child's Edition. The request of Susan Sherwin, agent for the owner, Jordan Cassie and William Childs, here for conceptual review of a 1,207 square foot addition to the single family residence. The following structures exist: a main residence of 958 square feet. The project will require 20 cubic yards of cut and 20 fill. It's a 0.19 acre parcel located at 884 Walnut Road in the Eastern Goleta Valley area. Good morning. You can state your name and give us your presentation.
Hi, good morning. Susan Sherwin here, architect for the project. So this is, if you looked at the photographs at the end, it's quite a modest little cottage. This is a family with 3 young children who recently moved back to Santa Barbara, and it was the husband's childhood home. And so they're hoping to expand it and make it their kind of forever home. If you zoom in on that, the sort of site or the area photo, the one up in the upper left, you can see that most of the homes in the area are larger and have been added to, remodeled. It's a really sweet little rural area. And if we look at other photos on that sheet, you can see that it's fairly, people are, okay, so we've gone to the next page, but that's fine. That's fine. I mean, there's a lot of hedges and a lot of privacy from neighbors in the area, a lot of big hedges and things. If we go to the next page, we can look at the property itself. So upper right is the front of the house. And on the left is the back of the house. It's quite a sloping lot. If we scroll down. Yeah, so we're seeing like the side of the house with the driveway that slopes down and the other side, and then scroll down again. And like both sides of the house and go over to the left, and yeah, the back deck looking towards the south neighbor and the north neighbor. Okay, so we can go back to the plans at the start at the first sheet again. So the idea was to keep the main part of the residence and then add a master bedroom wing towards the back, and then a lower level. So let's move down to the floor plans next sheet. Oh, next sheet, sorry, survey. So that's the existing house, which is just a very small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house with some understory space for storage. And so if we go down, again, this would be our proposed plan. On the right is the upper level, maintaining 1 bedroom as a guest room, the master bedroom wing, and then an expanded deck. And then creating a stairway down to the lower level on the left, where we have 2 kids' bedrooms, a bath, and a family room, and then like a mudroom and storage laundry. Go down, next sheet, please. So existing elevations, and then our proposed elevations on the next sheet. Let me scroll down, you can see the whole thing. So the front of the house is basically mostly stays exactly the same as it was. And we're just stretching out towards the rear of the property. I think the next sheet has sections, but I'm not sure that that's so interesting to you, but that's how that's what we're proposing.
Thank you. Wanda, any questions from the board?
Yeah, the screening on the south side, what is it like? Like a big hedge? Is that what you said?
Sorry. Yes, the photos, I mean, yeah, I'll go back to the photos on 8 and 9.
The aerial might show it. I don't know. Yeah, go large, go bigger. So
there's a hedge on the north or the top part of the site, and then also which I guess is the
south.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how the
in the
addition goes.
south.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak on this item?
We have no hands raised and we have no letters submitted.
Okay. Close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Start with Alex. Since you had questions.
Can we go to the elevations, please? Yeah, they are all of them. Yeah, I was a little surprised about the different roof pitches. The front looks cute. It must be like a 6 on 12, you know. The roof pitches I'm talking about. And then there's another one. Then the other ones are not so. Anyway, what were your thoughts about that? About why did you change the roof pitches?
Well, the roof pitch of the main house, of the main portion of the main house, is actually lower than the that front little section.
Mhm.
Because it's wider, but they meet, you can see that they still meet at the same.
Right. Uh-huh.
So I basically wanted to keep the roofs at this, at the lower pitch rather than the higher pitch. We looked at some options, various
Okay.
options, but that was the idea, was just to kind of keep it slightly lower profile than I think it was a 6 and 12 or something that was on the front.
Okay. All right. Oh, the comment. No, I think it would be better if on the what is it, the lower right elevation. I think a higher pitch would look. I think it would look better. It would give more character to the house. A little bit more quality residential as opposed, it starts looking, because of the stretch and it starts looking more like an apartment house, you know? So that, I thought that the front had more quality with a steeper roof, and you could easily do that on the back. You know, it seems like it will not change anything. I'm not sure how much is visible, but it seems like it will add character to the house. Maybe a little dormer window or an attic vent or something like that. Yeah.
Joe, that's the east elevation Alex is referencing.
Yeah, and maybe also some gable decorations on the other ones. The what is it? The north maybe seems like it's missing something on the top. And I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels. I kind of like this little lipstick.
Yeah, I understand why you did what you did, but it's true that the front of the house has a certain charm and simplicity, and it's good that that's still what you see from the street. If you raise the pitch on your addition, then you'll have, I guess, a continuous ridge on the north elevation. But I think that would be all right. I agree with Alex to bring that steeper pitch in because you're kind of taking the same proportion and shape coming out the back. And then if there's, I was struck by the blank walls on the south. I know you're close to the property there, and I think maybe the landscape architects can speak to making sure the screening is really good, because that's a very unbroken two-story line along the south elevation.
Right, and it's just
It's on the setback.
from the, yeah. it's
Yeah.
Away from this, 20-foot high hedge.
Right,
So it's not,
right, okay. And then I agree with Alex also on any kind of embellishment to the gable ends or, I know you have the doors out of the bedroom coming onto the side deck, but is there something you can do to enhance the gable end on the east elevation of your addition? You know, whether it's, maybe you've got enough doors to not have, like a little balcony and some doors, or something more developed there. Not necessarily doors, but you can think about what you might do there.
I can add the detailing, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think it's a fairly straightforward project in some regards. Like how you were keeping the west elevation as it is for the neighborhood to look like smaller scale and working towards the slope area. I see what you're saying about the south elevation being right up against the hedge line. So there's not really a lot of plant material you can put on that kind of white wall there. But I think it would be good if you can spell out kind of what is there for the hedges and the trees. Just some minor details there. And then on the back side of the house, I think maybe there's a little bit of information that could be, it doesn't look like there's a lot of landscaping currently on that slope. But if just showing, and maybe it's just the photos, but it does look like kind of a lot of blank space.
So I'm sorry, are you saying you'd like to see landscape plan or?
Maybe just a little bit more detail about how it's connecting in with the house. Looks like there's some stone pathways and staircases that maybe.
A lot of things that need to be reworked there that have just been done over time, so.
Sure. So I think that would be good to kind of think about a little bit how that's all connecting with the doors that looks like you have there too. But overall, I think it's a pretty straightforward project, so thank you.
Robert.
I don't really have a lot to add, other than I agree with Kiera that identifying the existing conditions and any proposed improvements to the landscape, and particularly in the front yard, I guess, because that's kind of the part that faces the public part. And other than that, it seems like a reasonable.
Sounds good. Yeah, I agree. I think just documenting the existing landscape the best you can so that we can see in plan view, like it's the relationship and if there's gaps just letting us know what you'd propose for screening there. And so this is here for conceptual review. Does the board feel like she can come back prelim and final full board? Is it most of- On consent? Okay. All right, yeah, since it's straightforward enough, you can come back for prelim and final on consent. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 2, Christ the King Episcopal Church. This is a long description. Request of CAM, CAM Land Use Development Agent for the owner, Christ the King Episcopal Church to consider here for conceptual review of the installation of 3 modular units, 12 by 60 feet each. For classroom space, they'll serve the St. Teresa Classical Academy. One classroom structure will be a single modular unit of 720 square feet, and the other will be a double wide modular unit of 1440 square feet. Project includes the validation of a 192 square foot shed. It includes a 23,000 square feet of new landscaping, which will include native screen shrubs along the western and northwestern property line, low growing native seeded wildflower meadow and other ground cover types in the open areas, a new hedge screening the perimeter of the new development, as well as some new parking lot trees as a result of the parking lot reconfiguration required for fire access. There's an existing worship hall of 4,000 square feet, an administration building of 2,600 square feet, the modular classroom of 1,440 square feet, which would be which is a double wide, an existing 192 square foot shed that's part of this application. And the earthwork is 127 cubic yards of cut, 36 fill, and about approximately 84 export. The property is 2.97 acres located at 5073 Hollister Avenue in the Eastern Goleta Valley. And before you give your presentation, I just want to note that the landscape architect involved in the project did email me the plans ahead of time since he can't be present. So, all right, you can go ahead and state your names and give us your presentation.
Good morning. My name's Craig Minus. I'm with CAM Land Use and Development. I serve as the project manager and the land use planner for the project. I'm joined by Richard Johnson. It's a project architect, and I'll turn it over shortly to him to walk you through the design of the plans. And as you mentioned, Aaron Carroll couldn't make it today, but did send in his comments. Before I turn it over to Richard, let me just quickly walk you through the background on the land use side of things. We're currently have our planning applications in for the project, which includes an amendment, an amended CUP and a development plan. The Christ the King buildings, as you see them today, currently operate under an existing conditional use permit. And our proposal includes adding the 3 additional modular classrooms for the St. Teresa Classical Academy school use. We began this project in 2023. We utilized the county's planner consultation process, and we're currently on our 4th submittal. So I'm optimistic that we're close to application deemed complete, pending your board review. So I'll turn it over to Richard to kind of walk you through the design, the plan set, and I remain available for any questions.
Like Greg said, we started this project a couple of years ago, and basically the headmaster for the school part, the St. Teresa part, received these 3 modular units from Ojai School and looked for a place to place them in Santa Barbara area, which he had already established his own school system, and found this site available at this church on Hollister. So we looked at it. There was a huge vacant area behind the sanctuary and a couple of admin buildings on the property, and the rest of it was all open and it's flat. It's easy to build on. It was an originally walnut orchard in this community, as you probably know. Site plan, you can see on the right-hand, lower right-hand side where you see the large parking lot. Hollister at the top. And the modular units down below where they were just haphazardly placed temporarily during one of our deluge rainstorms we had a couple winters ago. So they kind of live there until we decide what to do with the final plan and get approval and put them in their proper location. The materials of the units that he obtained are matched coincidentally the classroom that's on the site plan right now. Which is that little building you see at the lower part of the open flat area there. That's an existing classroom type building. The larger building towards Hollister is the sanctuary. The vertical building is along the parking lot. There is the admin building with some little gathering rooms in it for conferences with students and parents and whatever. And then you see the lower level there that's kind of scruffy and it's got the 2-lane going through it. That's where our work site would be for our 2 new classrooms, which will be using the 3 modular units to create 2 classrooms. 2 of them will be glued together. We had to extend the parking lot turnaround at the south end. Right there. We left the trees in there, but we had to do a turnaround in there that met the current fire department standards, which we did do on the site plan.
Overall grading plan might be easiest, or the landscape plan is the last. Yeah, that's the last sheet.
I can see it on A1. And the landscape plan is a good plan. Let's just keep that. It's got nice color to it. It's good for the eyes. But you can see the enlarged turnaround at the left-hand side there of the parking lot. It was a minor increase in size, so we accomplished that. You can see the 2 buildings on the upper left-hand corner of the site. That's the double wide, and then the single wide is the one off to the upper right there. The one to the right of those 2 is the existing building. These actually architecturally match that existing building as a classroom with more additional classrooms, same size in the whole bit, same materials, flat roof. His is a raised grade foundation system. I'm going to do in essence on grade floor level to the existing grade as much as possible, with a crawl space hollowed out underneath the building to accommodate the fact that it's a modular unit. So there will be a crawl space underneath mine. Theirs, they had the crawl space exposed. We put in the new ADA accessible sidewalks around there. There's exits out the back of the units on the far side, so we accommodated that. And coming around to the right-hand side of the lower left of the quadrangle of our work area is just the walkway to the parking lot, the drop-off zones, and all those miscellaneous areas. Going to the elevations, they're really simple. The budget's extremely tight on this, as you can imagine, for a private school system. New doors and windows locations will be altered into the existing framework of the modulars, but that's about the only change. All the trim will be the same. Colors match the main buildings on the property, and light fixtures are night sky friendly. We're working on the wheelos right now, but there's really little on that because almost all our paving is permeable. So we're not triggering that to get into a big budget item of cisterns and all that kind of control elements. Just trying to keep it, we have to keep it into a small budget, that's all. So the landscape plan, our landscape architect, Aaron, has sent a letter to the board landscape member and explained all that. Looks good and green to me, so I think that's kind of cool. The existing property line around the property is to the east side there, which is the lower side of the screen, has got a trees and bushes and a wood fence, and there's a 2-story subdivision beyond that to the south, to the east. To the south, which is to the left of the drawing, we have a vertical shrubbery in there to a certain height to help screen the parking lot and the new construction from the adjacent neighbors to the south, which are all single-family dwelling units. There's a cul-de-sac that comes into there, and there's an existing separation wood fence. So standing on our property, looking at their property or their development, it's all you see is a sea of roofs. You really don't even see windows at all. You can see down the cul-de-sac, but we're also covering that with landscape screening. To the top side of the screen there is the it's an open field right now. It's a Christmas tree court and it's Christmas time and all that kind of thing. I'm not sure what happens there during the time, but there's one little house or two in the corner there, the upper left-hand corner, and we're screening that. The rest of it, we're not touching. And the rest of the property, we're not touching. We're not working on that area, so we're not working in that area. Along Hollister, Public Works in all their wisdom has asked us to put 3 streetlights along the Hollister Avenue there at our expense. Fill in an unused driveway apron at our expense and a fire hydrant at our expense to increase the area. There's a hydrant down on the left-hand side of the screen where the cul-de-sac is, but it's residential, not commercial, so we have to put in a commercial. The parking lot stays the same. That all complies. And I think that's pretty much the end of my summary of the presentation. Oh, and we're putting a sign out in front to annotate to the existing sign. We're just putting a banner underneath the sign that's fixed and permanent. We'll call out the church, the school function itself, which is that bottom panel underneath there, that colored one.
I can read Aaron's brief description into the record if that works so that the other.
And I'd like the opportunity to expand on one component if you wouldn't.
Okay,
mind.
go ahead.
Would you mind going back to the landscape plan, please? I just wanted to note for the board, we have been working closely, I think, with the neighbor group. Like Richard said, there is a neighborhood to the left of the screen. There is a cul-de-sac that has not only a pedestrian, but like a visual connection through our property. So we've really been paying attention to, how can we screen, where can we locate these modulars to have a lesser impact on the neighborhood. I think from a site planning perspective, it was somewhat of a challenge because, we tried to make this courtyard so it's usable for the school. We were limited by how far we can get these modulars back because of fire department service and the length of hose. So we wanted to kind of work with the neighborhood to kind of get this back and away from the cul-de-sac as much as possible. So we've done that. We've asked Aaron to pay particularly close attention to using landscaping to soften any visual that the neighborhood would see into the modular. We're exploring maybe some additional options that we can kind of soften this corner with a green screen or some sort of fencing or something like that. And we're open to all those ideas, but I thought that was important to share with your board.
Also, I, in my ignorance, failed to point out we're way beyond the setback line required. The minimum setback that I think is 10 or 15 feet there, and we're 25 feet or something like that from the property line. So we widened that as much as possible, not using it, just planting it.
So
Drainage on the site stays the same.
Aaron's notes, some of it was repetitive to what you've said, but let me see if there's anything else. The east property line is already has existing dense landscaping, red trumpet vine and Brisbane box trees. So most of the new screening is proposed along the south and west property lines, which includes elderberry, toyon, Catalina cherry, and red trumpet vine on the fences to match existing. Some existing walnut trees are also proposed to be protected in place. There's a low 3-foot high hedge the elephant's food proposed on the rear sides of the new buildings to keep the kids from wandering off. If the desire is to make this a taller hedge, it would be okay with changing that to bay laurel or pittosporum. The central courtyard proposes UC Verde buffalo grass or carapia with shade trees, probably sycamores for the kids to enjoy. And we also have a small pollinator butterfly garden adjacent to the existing single-story buildings. There's also some lantana to match existing and a seeded native meadow. proposed. And he just mentions that they're trying to be budget conscious. Okay. If that completes your presentation, move on to questions from the board.
I had a question about the paint colors on the modulars. And what's the color of the existing one? And what's your proposed?
We have pictures of the existing one. And I just went out there with the fan and laid it up against the wood wall and picked the color that was the closest to it and said that's our matching color.
So it's these shades of brown like we're seeing here?
That's in the administration.
Right, these are the administration buildings and the sanctuary. So what about the,
We'll see there it is, upper,
This one here.
right.
It's existing.
so
You see it from the.
Brown one is existing.
it's that one?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's on.
And one other question, along the, is that the south, the end of the property?
Upside.
You said there's a fence. Is that a continuous fence along the property line or what is?
Yes, it is a continuous fence around the property line, except for the cul-de-sac area. There's a fire department access bar there,
So the fence is open at that point? Is it?
right in there. Yes, that's right.
You can see the bulb of the cul-de-sac here.
Yeah.
Wood fencing there.
Hmm. Okay. And it's actually open or is there a gate for?
There's
The
a gate in
photo.
there. There's a gate and
Well,
nobody can
small
drive
area.
through there. You have to have a Knox box fire.
Right, but it's a gate for the fire department. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
The tree in the middle.
Really?
Backside, in that aerial. Maybe they can go around the tree.
Oh. Okay. That's my questions. Thanks.
Any other questions from the board?
I had a quick question. What ages are going to be at this school and roughly how many kids are here?
So the application currently anticipates 85 students. Primarily will be elementary, but the modulars will allow the addition of a high school level. But cumulatively, it'll be limited to 85.
It's a full-time school. It's not just associated with the church as being.
Correct, yeah.
The last other question was that pathway, that concrete pathway it looks like leading from the bulb. Does that go to the cul-de-sac currently? Is there, sorry, to the landscape plan, the last sheet, please. Yeah, just above the bulb or to the left of the bulb.
I think you're talking about this piece?
Yes, that's.
Yeah, that's actually an existing drainage component, yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
I have a question. How does somebody access this from their car? I mean, is the intent to drop people off at that loop that you're adding at the end? Like, will parents be dropping their kids off there?
Yeah, that's the intent. That was a concern that we had from a traffic perspective and a circulation perspective, but given the, given the length of this existing driveway, we get, we don't anticipate queuing issues on Hollister. There's enough throat to get the cars in. They would do like a circulation thing if here and drop off and then, back out this way. So we anticipate it being pretty smooth.
We've had studies done for traffic for the planning department to review. They're all happy with what we've submitted so far.
Right, but for the school itself, where's the drop off?
About that area.
You have to nose
have to-
into the parking spot to drop off.
Yeah, I mean, we can revisit that. Perhaps those are temporarily blocked off in the morning hours or something. Or we could look at, making this a little more clear. as a drop-off function. But yeah, the parking lot is largely underutilized now. So there's not a lot of cars in there.
It's really sized for when there's a assembly going on at the sanctuary. For all those people that come for those functions, that's the size of the parking lot. The school is very minor compared to that overall function.
Right, but if there's 85 students, there's going to be a lot of drop-offs. I mean, I think that's an important component of,
They'll all ride their bicycles or take the bus.
No, I mean, we actually have studied that. I mean, there is a large component that will be coming by, alternative modes of other than the car. I think you're right. There will be a number of drop-offs. From an from a queuing perspective, I'm very confident we can get them off Hollister. I think I respect your comment about maybe having a more formal drop-off. Yeah, a loading. I get that. Yeah. Understood.
Well, I was thinking too, if there's not really a clean way to hop out of a car at that loop area at the end, you're kind of like in the planter bed. Maybe that should be connected with a sidewalk or something so it can function to get people into the school area.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 kids in school and, I see, like a horizontal drop off where you pull up and you let them out and, that's very typical. So I mean, I think we could study something like that, Richard.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move to public comment? No? Okay. Move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or online? If you're in the audience and would like to speak, please bring a speaker slip up. You can come, where are the,
Before you open up public comment, the headmaster for the schools here, and I think he could add some light on dropping off.
Functional information.
okay.
Oh, he's part of the applicant team, so a member of the public, or would you just?
I think he'll just present as part of the applicant team. Yeah.
Yes, good morning. My name is Matthew Nahara. I just wanted to add a little clarity in what we currently do as far as drop off. Now we don't have 85 students in the school, but it is a very smooth operation. The median where the parking spaces are currently, they're coned off. Craig indicated where the drop off is. There is no parking. It's a brief stop. Children are disembarked. They're escorted to the building side and the parents depart. So currently it's a very smooth operation, and I don't anticipate even with an increase in enrollment that it will be a problem.
I guess I have one other question. Is there any requirement for outdoor space for like tables or anything like that at this school? I mean, it seems like the only outdoor space that serving to these new buildings is the kind of open green area and the paving that seems to be for circulation.
The lunch area. Kind of.
Yeah, like a spot for tables where kids would sit at.
Yeah, well, excuse me. Sorry, this is a little loud. I think, we anticipate the quad serving that function, getting to that programming level. I think we haven't gotten to that far yet. But the anticipation is that, the school would function kind of inside this quad portion. And we can explore kind of the programming of tables and chairs and things like that too.
All right, so we'll reopen public comment. If you haven't submitted a speaker slip, please fill it out and come bring it to Jonathan up here. I'm not sure, someone was raising their hand before.
Was there speaker slips for this item?
Okay, and is there anyone online too, just so we
I'll take
know?
here, sir.
There are no letters in the folder. Okay. Yeah. And yes, and you'll have 3 minutes, but just 1 second.
Hi, John Rouse, previous warden of the
moment.
church. just a clarification that the admin building, can you hear me now? The admin building is not going to be used for the students at the current time. We don't plan to use that in the future. Maybe I'm speaking too soon. So the school is going to be,
Yeah.
school should be, I think, is going to be isolated from the church. Is that not true?
Yeah, so are you trying to clarify the programming for the existing one-story building that's labeled? to the
Admin.
east?
Yeah, that stays
Right
with the
of-
church. I thought there was a comment that it is being borrowed from us for now while the kids are there. There's a few students. But when they come in full force, it's your space that we're talking about. And I forgot the other thought. They mentioned 3 lights on the street. I don't know about you, but I love dark space. And if there's nobody complaining about the light, lack of light, or crime that needs light, I wonder if your board can even comment to the city about whether that's absolutely necessary, or we just have a bureaucracy that says we need lighting everywhere because we are a city. And this is county area, so it still has and reflects an agrarian and country feeling. More lights, the more cityfied it feels like to me. Thank you.
And we can direct that question to, is Francisco Vargas online, the planner?
Yes, I'm here.
Francisco, is it a requirement to have the lighting added to because it sounds like the applicant as well is incurring an extra expense if it's not a requirement?
You know, I'll have to, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to follow up with that. I did reach out to Public Works. Those lights are within the public right of way. So I don't know exactly where those came from, if that was a requirement from Public Works or not. So
Okay.
I'm checking with them and I'm waiting to hear back.
Great, thank you. So if you can just let us know by the next time we hear this item. And then regarding the programming of the buildings, that is not in the purview of our board, so we'll just ask that you coordinate between the two parties. Okay, and then I have one more speaker slip. Reverend Israel, can you pronounce your last name?
Unchair.
Unchair. And you'll have 3 minutes. One moment, please. Okay.
Yes, my name is Israel Anchan. I'm a priest, and also according to California, state of California, I'm also considered as the CEO of Christ the King. Regarding the question regarding drop off there, we have a several location. Actually, the parents can come, take the round and drop off the student there. And also now the headmaster, he put all the cones. And in the one side, the parent can come and drop the student there. It's very safe, and every day I see my own window, okay? On the other hand, I'm also staying in a neighborhood. In that neighborhood, I've already considered with like a friendship, and they all agreed. In that particular area, and also mainly headmasters, the children, they walk. Many students, they come by bus. That means that is not all 85 students are, drop off. There are lots of students, they come from my area. As we said, like there is a small gate, there's an open gate. There is no such closed gates. This is an open gate. The student come from there, both the walkways, and on the other hand, Main Street 5073 Hollister Avenue. Also they come, I see many times. Student, they walk and take the bus, like senior students and 10th grade and 11th grade. So that is, there is no such kind of impediment I see regarding, like a kind of a crowding student. And second thing is like we have not only the school classroom, and also we have outside near about 6 picnic tables. We have an umbrella, students sit there, and there is no such kind of a problem, what I believe. So that's the reason this is the clarification. And we, as well as our school, we go together this is a good ministry for the neighborhood, because nowadays we see the discipline of the students and we are very much discouraged with other schools. But our school is very much, very well disciplined, and teacher has a discipline. And so therefore, I would really appreciate for your support. Thank you.
Any other?
Different. So.
All right. I think you're gonna have to tell me your last name.
Oh, Kieran,
Kieran, sorry. Okay. Hi.
they can scratch.
No worries. Okay, Bill Kieran, you have 3 minutes.
Great, thanks. I'm going to make it pretty quick and simple. I live directly behind the furthest module. That's my property. And so my biggest concern, and I addressed this early on with these guys, is there still access from San Domingo into the church property? Because if there is, I've got an issue with the cars that always want to park in front of my house waiting to pick up their kids. And it's happened 2 or 3 times that I've been in front of my, front yard and stuff in the property. And I'm just not digging that. If that's going to be the case, if there's going to be access from San Domingo onto the church property, I would like to see that changed or avoided. Clearly, I'm not necessarily opposed or in favor of the project, because we've lived there almost 30 years and the quietness of the neighborhood has been great. And so now, but that's here nor there. So it's mostly the access for the cars that sat in front of our, our driveway in front of the cul-de-sac, just 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, waiting for the kids to be picked up. So as long as it's all going to happen on church property, then great. So that's my only, not complaint so much, just the thing I want to make sure that we get clarity on, because I wasn't clear on when you guys were talking about it, if there was access there. So anyway, thank you.
Comment. Great. Any other public comment in the audience or online?
We have nobody in our attendees, and I believe that was the last speaker.
Okay, we'll close public comment, move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Val.
Well, I do have concerns about the treatment of the southern property line. If there is a gate for the fire department, it seems like there could be a walkable gate for kids to walk in. But I think the issue, if there are people driving in from that side, that's an issue. And I think there should be a very clear depiction for us of the drop-off condition, because to me, it's not clear that there's cones and parking spaces and changes from one use to another depending on the time. Yeah, we need to see a clear path. And if there's 85 students, that's a much bigger number than there is now. So it's a change in the way it gets used. And I was wondering if there's any concern just for general noise. Kids are great, but they also make a lot of sounds and when they're at recess, and whether there should be any kind of more of a sound wall between at the southern property line rather than a fence. So that's a concern I have as well. And I think the question about tables and where the kids, we did a review process with Summerlin Public School. It was extensive for developing the outdoor areas for the kids. And so if, 85 students, that's actually bigger than Summerlin School. So I think that there should be more of a focus on how the outdoor space gets used and how you provide for eating and shade protection and those items. I was thinking you had an opportunity with paint color to help those buildings, but I'm gonna let that go. They're brown, they'll just kind of recede into the setting, and the more landscape, the better around them. So I guess that's it for me.
I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I agree with those sentiments about the drop off. I think it's one thing. I think you guys have it covered. It's just if you guys could, it sounds like it's going to be a safe drop off, but our job, I think, is to ensure that it is on plans and make sure that there's somewhere that if someone's dropping off unattended, they have a safe way to get to the classroom. I think that the landscape plan, I think you guys have cited the buildings nicely and really took into account the neighborhood and the setbacks, so that's appreciated. I think to kind of pick up on my colleagues' comments, I think there's the landscape plan is nice and you guys have a big buffer, but I'm not seeing a lot of like how the kids are interacting with the space. There's a big field. I would recommend against using Carapia just because it's not really a lawn kind of substitute. They say it is, but it's really not going to be able to play soccer on it or something like that. So I'd like to see that. I think UC Verde buffalo grass may work. I know you guys are probably thinking about water use. So I think it would be nice to see how these kids are going to be able to use this space. The outdoor space, I think, is really important in this project, and I think it's almost there. It just needs a little bit more. So thank you.
Robert?
You were describing that there's going to be high school students coming to the school. Where will there be a requirement for some of the students to be able to park on the site, or I mean, are you going to have students with their own vehicles?
Yeah, so the beauty of this site is, the two uses are basically utilizing a shared parking lot, where the church mainly operates when the school doesn't, and the school operates mainly when the church doesn't. So from a parking spot perspective, we have ability to have high school students park park and use those spaces, yes.
Okay, so I guess that goes into kind of the discussion about drop off. I mean, if it sounds like right now you're kind of using some of the parking area as a drop off area, so I think there needs to be an understanding of if your intent is to have students occupying some of these parking spaces, that there's enough room for that in addition to using the lot to function as a drop off zone. So, it seems to me like it would be logical to at least have accessibility at that loop area that you're adding on so that there's some sidewalk or connectivity into the courtyard space. I would suggest studying that. I also feel like the programming of the courtyard space in between the buildings could use further thought. It seems like it's kind of like a sterile space to me, and there could be some hierarchy in the paving, like use some pavers or something to create a space that, people can have tables there, and maybe introduce some planter areas into there where it's not just all a large, one type of material. I also think that the courtyard could potentially have a little bit more of an organic shape to it. To me, those buildings and the square rectilinear kind of look of it all, it seems like it could be a little bit more fun for kids that are going there each day. I understand you're kind of stuck with the buildings that you got, but that doesn't mean that the paving couldn't have a little bit of shape to it. And you got kind of this concept of introducing like a meadow and bird and butterfly garden, and all that's great, but you look at how that exists in nature, it's with soft edges to it. I would see that there might be a way to bring that kind of concept into the layout of the space.
I agree with the previous comments. I think, in general, the screening plan seems acceptable. And so it's really just like studying how that courtyard functions a little bit more. I think it is important to have a circulation diagram of some sort to figure out how the drop off and what's going to be designated for the school during drop off and like the parking calculations. To the public commenters comment, I'm not clear on that end too. On the south side, is it a locked gate that only the fire department has access to, or is it just like one of the traffic?
Yeah, I mean, I'm, if I'm wrong, please clarify. I think there's bollards there. So I think I think there's an open access, pedestrian access with bollards, and bollards can be removed if a fire truck needs to come through there. So unless I'm mistaken, there's not a gate, there's not an arm. It's a cul-de-sac that's bollarded at the end.
Okay.
So what was the neighbor speaking about people
I think
parking?
they're.
I think his concern,
Parking in the cul-de-sac?
is, I think, yeah, I think his preference would be, that,
Is fine.
drop off and pickup happens on the church property and not from the cul-de-sac. And I think that could be addressed operationally. And probably is the purview of planning commission and not you from a land use perspective is my anticipation.
Yeah, I think our comment is to not provide that pedestrian connection there if it's.
Well, I think, I mean, my opinion, I think some appreciate that pedestrian connection. I think the fire department will require the vehicular connection. I think operationally, we could stipulate that, pickup is to not happen from the neighborhood side, pickup on drop off.
Yeah, and I think also just working through because you're just here for conceptual, so it can be a little bit more conversational, but I think you have one designated pedestrian access point, and that seems like it's controlled. It's kind of, but I think working with your neighbors to figure out what the best situation for that property line is, because it is a pretty open access point to to the church.
Well, and if there is access through there, it should probably be in a more official way than like kind of going through the planter, right?
Exactly. It should be one or the other. It should either be blocked or a designated safe route.
I don't
Otherwise
think it's
it's-
appropriate to say there's access through there and then to just leave it as a planting area that kids kind of find their way through. Like it needs to be addressed as to how it actually functions.
Just sort out what the intention of that connection is and okay. So you're
Are there going to be any kind of playing fields for sports? Any kind of playing fields for sports?
The school is 3 blocks from a local park, and that is used it's got a large field, and that is used for that purpose. Currently, there is a quad area in front of the sanctuary, which has accommodated the students for playing volleyball. So it's between the modular unit classroom and the sanctuary. On the other side of the fence of Lane Farms. Yeah, so that's currently used for sports.
all right. So this is here for conceptual review. I think, does the board feel like it can come back for preliminary as long as it has the diagrams done and some more coordination with the neighborhood? Yeah, okay. Comments. Thank you. Right, moving on to the Lucero edition. Just keeping an eye on the time because I don't want, oh no, we won't lose quorum if I have to go at 11:15. Okay. So I don't need to resort anything. Okay. Item 3, request of Nicholas Schwaller, agent for the owner, Eric Lucero, here for conceptual review of a modification for the construction of a 549 square foot addition, exterior and interior remodel of an existing single-family dwelling with new detached 120 square foot accessory structure with utilities. Also proposed, but not part of this LUP, is the construction of a 480 square foot detached ADU. and landscaping is proposed. The parcel will continue to be served by the Goleta County Water District, Goleta San, and Santa Barbara Fire. Access is off of Via Abajo, and it's located at 855 Via Abajo in the Eastern Goleta Valley area. The plan memo, yes, that's what I was remembering. Okay, I'm going to read it in front of you. For some reason, that screen's hard to read today. It's very bright, or my eyes are just, okay. The proposed ADU, though not under SBAR review, is adjacent to Atascadero Creek Greenway and appears to be located within the floodway setback. Associated SCD case to allow the proposed garage conversion to habitable space to be within the front setback. Planning has reviewed the initial IUP and is waiting for the revisions from the applicant. They want us to demonstrate adequate on-site parking, 2 uncovered spaces outside the front yard setback, demonstrate how the 2 parking spaces can be used. Currently appears that the parking spaces are at an inaccessible angle and that the gate would open into the designated parking spaces. However, based on the information here and regarding the development plan, they are not located in the front setback. Specify the use of the accessory structure. Some accessory structures can be located in the rear setback, though not in the side setback without modification. But the staff needs to know the following: that it's not an artist studio, guest house, or cabana. It does not exceed 40% of the required rear setback, and it does not exceed the height of 12 feet. Note that the structure does not appear to be exempt from permitting requirements because it includes electrical facilities and appears to be located partially within the mapped ESH. So it needs to be included in the LUP scope. Please provide floor plans and elevations. The development plan setback condition and SCD condition number 9 of the applicable development plan states that no permit shall be issued for any structure except in accordance with setbacks as shown on the approved development plan. And the setbacks are 5 feet from the street, 20 feet with straight-in garages, 5 feet minimum side yard, and 6 foot minimum rear. Let's see, please show the applicable setbacks on the site plan. This seems like a note to the applicant, not to us. It appears that only the accessory structure may still be located outside the setback. A modification may not be necessary if the accessory structure can be relocated a foot further from the side property line. If any proposed work would still protrude into the setback, staff needs to assess if the development plan condition allows for the modification to be permitted. This is an unusual condition, and staff has determined that an SCD to document why the proposal is in accordance with the original development plan is required. And is the planner on this one? Adam Orta? Oh, no. Okay. He has a lot of
Madam
notes for
Chair,
us.
Adam's out today. He did
Okay.
send me over some information in email. So if you guys have questions on this, I can probably try to help. I'm not super familiar with it, but I'm here to help.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we will go through, let's see, we have some comment letters. Let's pull up the plan set first. Okay, so we'll go through the presentation and then we'll circle back. Please state your name.
I'm Nicholas Schwaller, applicant, architect, and I'm joined by Eric Lucero. So thank you for hearing us. We're here to present the conceptual design for the project for the initial conceptual review with the board. And before I get into the design presentation, I was going to have Eric chime in from the homeowner perspective and kind of the overall goals for the project.
Thank you all. My name is Eric Lucero. It's a pleasure to be here today. We're excited to talk about some of the moves that we're making around a home that we consider our forever home. We've been here in Santa Barbara about 20 years. I actually met my wife, UCSB. We were delighted to be able to move into this neighborhood, Park Crest. And we have a couple of aging parents. My wife is a single child, and we've been thinking about what may be coming, which is to have some way to help us care and take care of her folks. So some of that work is in our plan for this ADU, is to think a lot about everything on a single level. We live in a ranch style home today, so we're trying to do those kinds of modifications to maintain that. And we're excited about the possibility of these homes that we've moved into. It's been about 50 years since they were developed, thinking ahead about how we got to address some of the changes in, I would say, wildfires. So we've taken an approach to think even ahead of kind of these really big fires in LA, how we would be able to really ensure this home from a fire situation as well. And it's been a real pleasure thinking about that in an architectural situation. And I'm here happy to have the conversation with all these experts here today to think through that with us as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Eric. So yeah, we can begin here with the plans. I think if you look at the a couple slides back, we have the survey as received showing Eric's home. And in keeping with the other homes in Park Crest, there's the kind of the garage in the front, and it's broken into the two massing where the main house is set back a little bit. And there's a bunch of existing pavement you can see in the front there with brick and two driveways because there had been a previous project in the 80s where the garage was flipped from the front to the side. Moving to the next slide, we have the existing floor plan on the existing site. And it's you come in the middle, and then you have the garage to the side, the living room, kitchen, and then over down the hallway, you have 3 bedrooms. So in many ways, the new design adheres to this layout. So if we flip to the next one, where you're entering through the center, there's this 2 masses of the home, the left and the right, and then we have this roof kind of spanning between the 2 masses of the home that create this great room where the kitchen and living room are. And then you circulate down the hallway into the primary bedroom on the top corner of the home, and then the 2 smaller bedrooms just south of that. And as you mentioned in the description, that area in the garage that is now called art room is not in the front setback due to the development setback being the 5 feet rather than the 20 feet and 5 feet from the side. So as we keep moving, maybe we jump all the way to slide 30. Which is second to last slide. This is a good context view where you see it kind of on the left there, the existing home, and then on the right, the front proposed elevation. So this kind of gives you a feel for the existing homes in the neighborhood here on the top left. And as you move down this page, I think there's an exhibit that starts to talk a little bit about some of the design cues that we grabbed from the neighborhood. Maybe scroll down just a little bit more. All the way to there, yeah. So as you come in the Park Crest neighborhood, those 3 images that you see in the top, there's this this large fence that has these sloped angled walls, stepped plaster walls. Elsewhere in the neighborhood, we're seeing a lot of horizontal lines on the carports, as well as these kind of battered or raked angled walls as a theme, somewhat applique on a lot of the homes, not necessarily the whole mass articulated that way, but it's certainly an element that we are pointing to as a reference point, because I know that our design is breaking down the scale of the proposed dwelling in a way which is different than the other homes, but we feel like it's consistent with the zoning envelope and it adheres to a lot of the guidelines of the Eastern Goleta Valley Plan, including the breaking down of facades using shadow and recessed projection and so on. We can point to some of those directly. But I think maybe we should go to the elevations. Proposed elevations. These are the sections. Yes, cool. So really the front elevation it's attempting to create a welcoming entry between those 2 masses of the home where the blue door is there, and you're kind of coming in between the 2 masses, and then that great room has the roof that's spanning between them. And the primary material on the exterior is intended to be kind of a concrete, cementitious, gray, smooth plaster finish. And there are wood accents, which is consistent with the other homes in the neighborhood, wood fencing, and all the landscaping is intended to be native vegetation that's consistent with the Atascadero Creek Greenway and the other species that are there. Although there's very minimal exterior lighting proposed, just the landscape lighting, kind of bollards downward facing, night sky compliant, very little architectural accent lighting. And really the home is about this warm, inviting interior and being able to kind of enter into it. And then the exterior with the masses kind of having this bit of an angle to it creates this natural feeling of uplift towards the sky and a little bit of kind of breaks down the scale of the forms a little bit too. And on the topic of scale, the roof above the main great room there is actually holding the same 15-foot ridge line that the previous sloped roof design had. So Eric, as he was talking originally, he really likes the way that the house is laid out, really likes the neighborhood. And so this is a way of kind of evolving the design language of Parkcrest and pointing to references not only in the neighborhood, but also in kind of Puebloan architecture, but doing it in a contemporary way, which doesn't feel out of scale or out of material context and so on with the neighborhood. I think that we can go through some of the more site plans and the other drawings. This is the ADU. And on the topic of fire resistance, that's where we're exploring these kind of flat concrete decks. Just the interiors. Maybe go to the last slide. The last slide has got a few renderings coming in the front entry. And then we're trying to use the wall, the planter, the bench. There's kind of a recess bench. The openings also have some deep recesses. And all of this kind of creates these shadow lines and this facade articulation, which I think is important to break down the scale of the building. And as the palette material is limited to these kind of natural brown painted tone on the window frames, glass windows, the kind of concrete gray, this warm wood on the overhangs and on the interiors, Santa Barbara sandstone for the pavement. Really not a lot of concrete hardscape proposed, mostly this kind of hybrid of softscape with stepping stones, so to speak. And really the home is intended to be a series of these exterior and interior volumes of space. Some of these views, like on the center, on the right there, you can kind of see the rear yard and the new proposed ADU. And as Eric spoke to the intention of creating the ADU, then that design language started to influence the main house and the way that the main house was articulated. So I think it's just an introduction to the project from the design standpoint, and I'm interested to hear what the board, if they have questions, and I'll give it back to you. Yeah.
I have a question. What's the accessory building that the planner was
Yes.
referring to?
Yeah, I
got
did
out.
actually was able to speak with Adam. I wish that he was here to give more context on the planning side. But the accessory building, yeah. That's correct. Yeah, and there was that comment in there on the planner letter that they could just scoot 1 foot over, and we've already made that move. Yeah, it's intended to be a sauna building. So it does have some utility power for that, but it's not a dwelling. It's not intended to be a residence. Yeah. Yeah, it just has to be 5 feet over, and then it can't be in the ESH. Yes, we are able to achieve that.
Sorry to interrupt. I just realized that I live definitely within the noticing zone of your address. And so I'm going to recuse for this one. I'm sorry, I live directly across the creek. So.
I will take over, okay? So,
Guppy swim.
Yeah.
so we're in questions now, or right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I asked about the accessory building. It's a sauna. They've been working with the planner to get it to the setbacks. So then there's not a modification
Yeah, there's
required
no
anymore.
modification at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good for us.
so there are no modifications required on this project. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, originally on the description, it said modification, but then through their review, it's a substantial conformance declaration.
Okay.
And this two-story ADU that don't require, it's just a standard thing. It doesn't require any mod or anything.
So 1-story ADU. And then there's a utility crawl space below it.
It's a utility crawl space. Okay. And how about the front yard setback? What is that? Is it a converted garage, or what is it?
Yes, it is currently the garage. Adam, the planner, informed me that there's actually a 5-foot setback from the front yard, not the 20-foot that appears on the originally submitted drawings. And so that whole area is actually not in a setback because of the PUD, yeah.
And that you eliminated the garage because of the ADU. Is that why the garage is?
It was more of a pragmatic thing, I think, from the owners, just they're not using it as much to park indoors and wanted to use that area for other.
So there is no required parking? I guess I'm confused.
Yeah, is there any required parking on the site?
There's required uncovered site parking.
And where is it?
It has to occur outside of the front setback. And so
So-
we've started to indicate it there on the drawings, but then now, yeah, it's gonna scoot a little bit further south on the page.
Oh,
There's room to accommodate
good.
that.
So where you're showing the cars at the bottom of the site is not
That's, yeah.
acceptable?
Those are not the proposed required spots. Those are kind of additional third and fourth spots. The two that are just page north of that, those would be the required parking. spaces.
No, stay there. They're the ones that are heading, but that's kind of a patio for the bedrooms.
And and that gray line is what, a drainage or a wall? What is that? A fence? The gray line separating the street from the
Oh,
parking.
yeah, right next to the car that's,
Yes.
What is
what
that?
is that?
It's actually a large swing gate. So you could swing it open, pull the two cars in and have them off the street.
Hmm.
Front
Those
yard.
ones are not on the street. The two closest.
Okay.
The memo identifies that planner doesn't think that that parking is accessible.
Yeah, yeah, we can address that with the planner in our revision. They had us go to the board without a revision, so we were gonna address all those things.
So your intent is to be able to park in that space.
That space, but it will be a little further south and it won't be in as much dialogue with the space.
Well, because the setback isn't correctly identified there.
So you can move them back. Are you going to move the location? Move the location of the gate or
It's been con-
Yeah, possibly.
out to the
Probably-
5-foot setback?
Probably the gate will stay mostly where it is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm,
Very good.
yeah, I start reading the staff report, I got lost. I mean, really, maybe next time we get something simplified, like 5 lines saying what's legal, what's not illegal, what needs a mod, if anything, you know.
They had a different setback and now they've established.
Okay, so we'll get that clarified next time. What are
I think yeah, sorry to interrupt. I know in the planner letter, they pointed to a lot of these Eastern Cedar Valley design guidelines. And so I think maybe that's what they were looking for, was just for you all to review the design appearance relative to those guidelines.
Okay, other additional questions from the board?
Yep, thank you. Could you, yeah, this is actually good, probably the site plan. Could you discuss a little bit about the existing screening and fencing and what you guys have anticipated? I know it's conceptual, but are you guys thinking about how this is all screened from your east and west neighbor? Yes. Maybe let's go to the front rendering, if that's possible. We can jump back to the site plan. So there are new fences, there are current fences already on the east and west property lines, wood fences, 6 feet tall. There would be new wood fences proposed on those same lines. New wood fences, any plant material proposed? They are, yeah, they'd be planted along the front, fences both sides. There's nothing really built up against the side. And then there will be some small fruit trees, as I mentioned, shrubbery. But yeah, that was the intent, is that basically as on the two property lines, the east and west property lines, there would be fencing with planting growing along the fencing edge or something. Okay. And
Sorry, could I add one more to that too? There's a couple of large, very mature trees that surround the area that aren't necessarily on our property, but there's a lot of that already kind of protecting the area. The renderings don't show all of the species that are nearby, but there's a lot of large trees as well on the neighbors' properties and in the common area.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for? What are the materials that you're planning to use? Is that pour in place concrete or is it just plaster or wood framing and plaster? What's the story?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. It actually originally started as plaster to try to look like concrete with the framing. And then in kind of discussions about the fire resistance, we're now exploring cast in place concrete as an option for the walls and for the decks. And really the aesthetic, the look that we're going for is this smooth gray concrete. And so try to achieve that with the cast in place. And if not achievable, then we'll be smooth trowel plaster on top of that.
Okay. All right. Are there any anybody online to speak about? Any public speakers online?
We don't have anybody online. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we do have some public comment left.
Okay, can we go through quickly? Okay. Object to the exterior design, the flat roof. CCNR. What else? Can you go down a little bit? There, stop. Slow down. There. Okay. There's all CCNRs, which are really basically private agreements, right? Yeah, it's not much of our purview. Architects, the border shell, let's see. So if you're a PUD association, is there an association? And you have to apply to the association? Or how do you-
We've been meeting with the HOA.
HOA, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a meeting early with them and then shown some early renderings, some drawings, feedback, solutions, navigating that process with the HOA currently.
Okay, very good. Okay, is there anything else? Any other letter?
This is from Ross and Ruth Reverdy. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is. Right here. Yep. This is from Scott and Teresa Robertson. Double check that. That was the one that was for.
Different project. Okay, all right, very good. Okay, all right, so I guess we close the public comment part of the testimony and we go to the board. Valerie, yeah.
Sorry, we do have one other letter of support from John and Susan.
Oh, where is that?
Right here.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So, yeah, I'll go ahead and start
Go to the elevations.
elevations.
Absolutely.
I'm very much in support of this project. I think it's forward thinking. I think it's a way to move forward on a 50-year-old PUD and start looking at how you can have an interesting lifestyle on small lots. I think the interaction with the outdoor spaces is also very forward thinking, and that you should be considered as a great example of where this could go for other people that want to invest in remodeling in that type of setting. And like that last letter said, they're appreciating your willingness to invest this much money into this existing PUD and the kind of neighborhood that it is. But you've created an interesting interaction between the buildings and the indoor-outdoor living in a small space. I really support it.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate the, where you guys are at with this project, and I think it's a nice design. I think you guys have kind of laid out the buildings nicely. I think size, bulk, and scale are appropriate with the neighborhood. I think what I'm struggling with is it seems like quite a departure from the existing neighborhood, and part of, the compatibility issue for me, just I like the building, I like the design. I'm wondering though if there's, like, I'm very pro-modern. I don't want to come across, yeah, I'm wondering if it could be scaled back in a way that still respects, although dated, the neighborhood, still respects the neighborhood aesthetic and feels like it fits better within the context. But with that being said, I think the exterior, has a lot of potential. I don't think it's there. It's really early on, but I think it should be explored, how the landscape, how that all speaks with the architecture. And to my colleague's point about kind of the outdoor living, I think that's going to be a big improvement. So overall, I appreciate the design. I think it's a nice design. Just kind of struggling with the context of it, and I think that's where the rub is. But
Robert?
I think it's an awesome design as well. I agree with Kier in a sense that it doesn't seem to really match, and I do think you've kind of cherry-picked details and use them to state your case here. But in saying that, though, I think allowing architectural design to progress is kind of, that's like the way that you do it. You gotta like take cues from what's happening in the neighborhood and develop, your proposal in a way that cleverly reinterprets them, which I think that you have demonstrated that you've done that with this project. So I can't really say that it's inappropriate. And I think that the view of the front of the house is kind of subdued. The back of it, it's a little bit more exciting, and maybe departs more from the style of the other homes in your neighborhood. But that's not how all of your neighbors need to perceive your home. So I think from the view of the front of the house, I think it fits in a substantial way, just based on your explanation of it, and very cleverly used every little inch of that property. So I commend you in the clever design. So I support it.
Can we go to the floor plan, I guess, or site plan, yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, the site plan, no, those are floor plans, yeah, that one, there you go. Yeah, I think it's an ambitious design, so that's why I'm a little bit worried about the visibility and the quality that ends up, and that's why I asked the question about pouring place and what exactly happened, because God is in the details, the devil is in the details. It's the it can come up as really cheap, or it come up as a jewel, so that's why I'm gonna be very careful with those details. Also, the other question is landscaping. You come up with a landscape plan because it doesn't seem to be a lot of room for greenery. Yeah, and yeah, plus we have a clarification about exactly about from planning, I guess, as to what if it needs a modification or not, and how you treat the edges, the fences, if there is landscape next to it, next door, you gotta show it. Just be, gotta cross all the T's. So I guess we can move on to Yeah, more comments? Yeah.
One more thing,
Mhm.
just to kind of tack on to my comments, I think what Alex is kind of getting at too is I think maybe the renderings for me felt like they weren't doing it justice. Maybe in the details, I think there's a lot that's kind of I don't know. I don't want to say like there's just a lot that is kind of left to imagination in a way, but it's detailed. It's really good. You know, it shows the form really well, but I think the materials and how it's all coming together with the landscape. For me, at least, I think coming back with that for a project like this, that's such a departure from the neighborhood to make sure it's a really, really good project, you know, that it's all been really well thought out. But anyways, I just wanted to add that.
Okay, very good.
Can I just add, I want to commend you for the parking. I mean, I think you got to refine it now that you've got the setbacks figured out. But, you know, we often see in the Eastern Goleta area, people that take over that garage that's sitting at the front of the property and then put a bunch of cars in the front yard right next to it. There is nothing good about that. What you're trying to do here is create interesting shapes and angles and then a gate that will be interesting in and of itself that you can put the cars behind. I support that.
Very good. So you have a lot of support. Should we continue to preliminary then? Okay, so we'll move on to preliminary and please answer all of those questions, you know, check all the boxes. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. All right, so we move on to item number, where are we? Number 4, the Granelli addition, case number 25/0033, conceptual review of a remodel of an existing 1860 square foot single-family dwelling, including demolition of the entry and existing deck, enclosing 148-foot entry area, a new 900 square foot permeable wood deck, new windows and doors, new finished stucco and stucco repair, repainting fascia, new garage door, blah, 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 blah. Okay, very good. At 4055 Naranjo Drive.
So sorry, before we begin this item, there was a typo. The title is Haber Artist Studio and Accessory Structures. It's actually Grinnell Edition. So that was left over from a previous agenda possibly, so. You had,
Grinnell
okay,
addition,
perfect.
yeah.
Just on the standard agenda, on the agenda that was distributed.
Okay.
Had that title, so.
So there's a lot of,
This
it's a
is Grinnell
shopping
Edition.
list, shopping list of additions, it's a deck, a garage, apparently not that much cut and fill, right? Yeah, 0. Okay, very good. Yeah, no, please, yeah.
There's a planner memo, so I'll read that. Due to the relatively minor exterior alterations to the dwelling, this project has been placed on the agenda for conceptual, preliminary, and final review. This project is consistent with all county zoning requirements. Do a comprehensive check.
Sana. Good morning, I'm Sarai Grinnell. I'm the designer and homeowner. This is a remodel and minor addition to an existing single-family residence. It's in the La Colina Homes. It's a 1960s tract that has sort of a mid-century flair to it. A lot of the buildings are kind of modern, but have kind of also that kind of 60s tract home vibe. Our scope of work, if you zoom into the site plan there, the darker gray area, area 1 is where we're proposing the addition under the existing roof. It's on the east, like sort of the northeastern side of the house. So that is an open entry area that's pretty dark and a little dingy. So really our goal is to just update the house, replace the windows, enclose that area and remodel the interior of the house. The existing deck, we're looking at redecking and updating the handrails. So if we can just go ahead and look at the photos. I think it's 2 pages down. Oh yeah, there we go. So that there, the long photo on the second row is the front of the house. You know, from the front, it really just looks like a traditional 60s tract home. If you scroll up a little, on the back, it has this more mid-century feeling. So we're really I mean, it's what drew us to the house is it does have this kind of cool, tall windows, the clear story. So our goal is to really just replace the existing windows with new sliders or the new sliding doors in the back, replace the existing windows in the front with more just nicer casement style windows, dropping them down for egress purposes, using aluminum clad windows versus the original skinny aluminum track home. Yeah, so if you go down to the elevations, you can kind of see really it's mostly remaining the same. The front facade, you can see the area where we're filling in for the entry area on that east elevation, dropping the windows down for egress and turning them into casements, which I just feel look nicer from the street side. And replacing the windows that are there, replacing the roofing, repainting the fascia, stucco repair. So it really is a restoration of the existing house with not a significant change to the layout or use.
Seems pretty straightforward. Any questions from the board?
You took away some of the clear stories
No, we didn't. Yeah.
to the other, yeah. Yeah, oh, I see there.
The overhang is
They're
kind
there.
of
Okay,
steep, so you
Above the
can't
slider.
see the clear stories from the elevation.
okay. That's
And we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone online? The audience cleared out in here.
I do have one person in the audience. So I would like to see if you have any comments on this item, please raise your hand in the chat. Seeing none.
Close public comment and move on to comments from the board, knowing that we're commenting on conceptual, prelim, and final.
Oh, it is.
You didn't need me.
So it's on the agenda only for conceptual. That's,
Oh.
I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication between me and the planner, but I
Oh.
only have it here for conceptual.
Okay, so we'll give comments and then probably propose that you come back for prelim and final on consent, which.
Okay.
Okay, any comment?
I think it's fine. Should move forward.
Any additional comments?
I was just gonna say that if you want to make it easy, we could spare her from having to come to the next meeting since Alex and I will be there and we could just say we'll support it at the consent agenda.
Yes, yeah, so she doesn't have to attend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to come here just to.
Okay. Will be agendized and the motion will be made then, but you don't have to re-present if nothing's changing on the plan.
Sounds good to me. Okay, great. Awesome.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5, Slippery Rock Ranch LLC accessory structures modification request of Mark Lloyd, agent for the owner. Is Mark online since there's no one in the audience? We might have all of a sudden moved fast and usually he's here in person.
Yeah, Mark Lloyd usually comes in person. I do not see him online. Kevin O'Leary, are you here for item 5 or 6?
Tracy Burnell usually comes in person too.
This is item 5.
Yeah.
We saw it last time, really. We gave them
Yeah, I know.
good comments.
Maybe
What-
they were here for conceptual, now they're here.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Isn't this like the,
I think he had to go to the ZA.
The ZA.
Yeah.
Application, we gave positive.
We have Max Carr Howard for item 6 online right now.
Okay, Max, are you wanting to present or are you waiting for your architect?
Hey, Max, could you hear us?
Okay. We can take a 5-minute recess and see who hops on.
We will take a 5-minute recess and return at 10:50.
do we need, Mr.
We will hop over to item 6. Carr Howard addition, request of Tracy Burnell, architect for the owner Max Carr Howard. Here for conceptual review of 160 square foot addition and remodel to the existing one-story single-family residence. The following structures currently exist on the parcel: of 1,400 square foot residence and 936 square foot guest house. The project will require 40 cubic yards of cut and no fill. It's on a 0.14 acre parcel located at 839 Mission Canyon Road in the Mission Canyon Community Plan area. You can go ahead and state your name and give us your presentation.
I'm Tracy Burnell, the architect for the project. So basically, this is a small addition and remodel to an existing structure. You can see on the site plan that the living room, which is to the west towards the top, is having an addition there. And then towards the east is a small bedroom addition. And we're also adding a front porch. There is a front porch there now, so this is just a little bit larger one with a different roof configuration, and then expanding the deck on the west side to make it a little bit wider in the south direction, and it goes out a little bit more with that curving element. If you want to go to the floor plan, so you can see on the left, there's the existing plan. It's got a really screwy kind of entry living room, sitting room setup that doesn't work at all. So we're doing a little addition to the living room on the left, so then you can see you come into a more normal foyer and having living room space. We're able to also get an actual closet for the primary bedroom. And there's a couple of very minor changes, like we're changing the French doors to a window in that bedroom too. And there's a couple little cabinetry things, but basically those are the elements. If you could go down to the elevations. So you can see there on the south, that's the new front entry porch. We're going to have to, I don't have existing elevations. We'll have to look at the pictures to see the changes. Yeah, that picture on the upper right there is the existing front. If you could zoom in on that picture on the upper right. Yeah, it's just got a little flat trellis thing for the entry now. And so it'll be a little bit bigger and have a roof on it. And then slide over to now go back up and go over to the left. Yeah, so that's the west side now, living room. And the other thing that we're doing is there's some inconsistency in the house between shingle siding and horizontal siding. So the rear building has horizontal, the rear of the house has horizontal, the front has shingle. The owners don't really like the shingle, so we're going to transfer it all to the horizontal siding. We'll be replacing the roof too. It's asphalt shingle. I haven't picked the new one yet. We're trying to find a composition shake that will be light so we don't do too much damage laterally. And I think that's about it. I mean, the living room now has a big gable end on it. It's a little hard to see with all the trees there, but if you go back to the drawings up above, you can see that west elevation. Yeah, so now it breaks down. I think the scale of it's nicer. Hopefully that's going to be a pretty cool deck with these horizontal members, like made of an E-paste. So we'll get kind of a dark element in there, along with in contrast to the colored siding, and do some stone base at the entry porch. The other elevation, find the east elevation. Yeah, there. So that's also one big gable right now. So it just brings another one in and breaks down in front of it. Yeah, I think that's about it.
I had a quick question on the site plan. There's some lines. Are those like little concrete site walls or that are?
Can you go back to
Yeah,
the site plan?
the site plan?
Page and on the kind of right side.
Yeah, just right near your deck in addition. Is that a little curb wall for a driveway or?
Yes, that's like a little tiny stone curb that just defines the driveway.
Uh-huh. And does it just kind of end? What?
Where the
Where-
boulder, I think is it boulders?
Where are we talking about on that?
Like,
Where the 4?
yeah, where
West
the,
side?
the 5 and 6 are. Yeah, so you come in the driveway along that side?
Yeah, that's a gate. And so it just stops. That's all backyard once you get past that.
Right. So where do cars park?
We'll slide over to the left
Yeah.
there. So there are 2
Over
parking
there.
spaces in the front there.
So that's just an existing driveway along the side there? or-
Yeah, way back when, that accessory structure in the back was a garage. So the driveway used to go all the way back to the rear. And so they cut that off and, they'll guest park there on the driveway sometimes, but they stopped it and turned the whole back into backyard and put the parking up front.
Okay.
I move on to public comment. Is there anyone online?
We have one person online. If you would like to make a comment on this item, please raise your hand in the chat. And we have no public comment.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Sorry, Val.
I think it looks really nice. It's a good, revamping of the existing house, and the architecture is integrated with the existing style and in fact improves some of the incongruities. Yeah, it's good to go.
Nice, very nicely done. Good design, well executed, supported.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a nice project, size, bulk, and scale are appropriate with the neighborhood. I didn't get this in the questions, but I imagine you're unifying the siding. There's a lot of different colors it looked like in the site photos. Is that all going to be one color?
Actually, they were painting the one in the back. That's why there were different colors, but
Oh, sorry.
it'll
Okay,
all be the same.
thank you. But yeah, overall, really nice project.
Yeah, I agree that it's a nice project, and also the front yard has a really nice quality. Maybe on that third page, if you want to go to it, Jonathan, in the top right of the sheet there. I would encourage a proper study of how you're going to fit the reconfiguration of the entry. Because it looks like now the stairs come down off the side, and then now you're bringing them right off the front. Anyhow, the front yard looks beautiful, so I just make sure it all kind of comes together seamlessly with the landscape layout. So, yeah, it's a good project. I support you.
Great, so it's here for conceptual review. Seems pretty straightforward. So with the positive comments, you can come back for prelim, final, and consent.
Beautiful. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I like when I'm the fast one.
All right, do we have applicant for item 5?
We do not have Mark Lloyd here.
Now that we're back online, let's look if we feel like we can just review it and give it positive comments.
I tried to look at it yesterday and the folder was empty. Is it
There's
something?
stuff in there.
in there?
I think so. I think it's just going through the process. There's very little design.
And the modification was granted already?
From the ZA.
ZA approved the modification already.
Okay. So then we're just reviewing, yeah, it looks identical to what we saw. So we would need to make a motion or yeah.
Preliminary and then
Right, and
back final.
Yeah, 'cause it's not agendized for final, so. All right, so we have to go through the process though, so if we don't have a presentation, then we'll go to any questions from the board. Open up public comment. Yeah.
Guy with
Oh, cows with bangs.
We have no letter submitted for this item and nobody in the attendees for this.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board.
We should move for preliminary and final on consent, so we have at least an applicant, right?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll just push it to the next, but to get both approved at the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could just give a
Yes.
little bit of clarification on this. So for modifications, so this has not gone to the ZA yet, and they have not gotten approval. With modifications, they are unique in that they do need to get preliminary approval from the BAR before going to the zoning administrator. So I believe that is why it's only listed as preliminary review today, because it cannot get final as well at the same time.
Okay.
So if the board pushes it to the next time, it would only be for preliminary.
So is there any issue with us granting it preliminary approval without the applicant here? If we have no comments
No.
other than, okay.
Yeah, you've already heard it. I don't see any issues with granting preliminary today.
Okay. All right. Does someone want to make?
We already said that the board is supportive of the modification.
Yeah.
So I will reinforce the support and move for the modification as built, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. And it can come back for final on consent after it goes to the ZA. All right, and meeting adjourned.
And the modification is that it's minor in nature.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Do we need,
Comments supporting the modification?
yeah.
Yeah.
Comments Support the modification, yeah. Okay. Good meeting, everyone.
Okay, that is our last item, and we will adjourn at 11:02.
Will you just let the applicant know if he reaches out?
Absolutely.
You know.